Check, check, checkity check. Right. Welcome to anyone that might be joining me for the stream today. As the description suggests, this is my very first stream. I think first time at least in 2 years, I believe. This will be the channel that I plan on posting all of my future flight sim content that will include Microsoft Flight Simulator, DCS, and even X-Plane. X-Plane 12 once I get that simulator set up correctly. For now, we are planning on taking up this beautiful JPLogistics C152 into the air here at Alderny, an island just to the south of the UK mainland, if you can call it that. So yeah, without further ado, let's get this thing in the air. So I'll be joined with my fellow co-pilot. Let's call him Sam. We'll be carrying just over or just under 30 kgs of baggage in the rear compartment here. As you can see, we've got our box of wine for later. Let's see. Right, so this being the JPLogistics C152, we have this wonderful little EFB included with the package. And by the way, this package is free for those that don't already know, allowing you to do a whole bunch of things, from configuring your avionics to actually keeping track of the engine health, as well as configuring a bunch of other settings like showing the avatars. We'll turn the pilot one off, seeing as though that seems to conflict with the camera. So yeah, we have already done the pre-flight. I've actually taken her up for a spin just before recording, just to test things out. Seems like everything's working, so we've already removed the static elements. We've loaded the payload up accordingly, and I believe we are ready to go. So let's stow the tablet and get things started. First things first, let's close her up. Make sure that the parking brake is on, and that all the other systems are in the off position, and that all our circuit breakers are, of course, in. At least those that we plan on using during the flight. Alright, with that said, let's get started. I don't think I'm going to I'm going to stay away from trying to narrate everything that I do. We're just going to go for a flight. So sit back, relax, enjoy the flight, and let me know in the comments if you'd like me to explain anything. I'm not a real world pilot, but I have been simming for 20 plus years, so I'd like to think that I at least know my way around virtual aircraft. So any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to explain them. So first things first, let's get the fuel line open here, and we're going to get the engine ready for its prime. As mentioned, I've just run it, so it shouldn't require anything special to start. Battery on, beacon on, again just to confirm the parking brake is on. We have enough fuel for the flight. Then the circuit breakers popped out as we turned the power on. And yeah, let's just prime the engine once, seeing as though she should still be relatively warm and ready to go. Here we go. So let's just double check here. Left and right are clear. So clear prop, here we go. All right, immediately we're gonna lean the mixture a little bit so we don't foul the props, and we're gonna come back to about 1,000 RPM for the idle. Let's make sure we got wheel pressure. Make sure the alternator works. When we turn it on, there it is. Did I say fuel pressure? I meant wheel pressure. Avionics can come on. Transponder to standby. And there is one NDB on this island, the Alderny NDB, already tuned in. 383. And it looks like we're already picking up a signal. Make sure that we have configured the flight instruments for the flight. So let's see, I have configured OBS to allow me to show you the Navigraph window that I've opened. There we go. I hope that works and you guys can see what I can see. So here's the island of Alderny. This is the Alderny airport where we are currently located. We'll be taking off of runway 26. As you can see just out in front of us, we have wind blowing right down the westerly facing runway. So it's a no-brainer with regards to what runway we'll be using. It is a tarred runway with the other two runways being grass strips, but as you can see they are almost perpendicular to the prevailing wind today, so we'll be using runway 26. Anything else worth mentioning? I mean, there's no crazy airspaces that we need to watch out for. We will just, well, there's a Class D airspace, but apart from that, I don't think there's anything we have to worry about as far as talking to air traffic control is concerned. We're just going to do a counterclockwise trip around the island, after which we'll be landing back on runway 26. Got a little red circle here, which probably denotes that we are not to fly over the town of Alderny, or St. Anne, I assume. You can see we can overfly, but we need to make sure that we are at least 700 feet above the town itself. All right. We can also go to the airport chart or airport information itself. Let's just open the airport and we can just double check the weather here. So we've got 240 at 16, the wind's blowing, virtually unlimited visibility with few clouds at 1,500 and a scattered cloud layer at 1,800. Temperatures a nice cool 17 degrees with the QNH of 1012. So that definitely qualifies as VFR flying. A beautiful day for flying at that. So let's make our way to the runway. So before we do that, let's just update the QNH here and make sure that the directional gyro is calibrated according to the magnetic compass. Okay, I think I'm happy. Let's go. Brakes released and off we go. Double check our flight controls here. Just going to pick up the volume in here a little bit, because she sounds fantastic. I have to say, if there's anything to praise the default aircraft in Flight Simulator 4, apart from the great looking flight models, they do sound quite good. Right, so we're going to do our run up first. We're going to hug the left side of the taxiway here so we could just make our turn into the wind here. Oops, that's a bit aggressive. Anyways, that'll have to do. So, mixture fully rich. Come up to about 1,700 RPM. I hope you can hear me. I'm going to check the magnetos. So first go to the right magneto. Make sure we don't see a drop more than 125 RPM. Go back to both. Test the left magneto. Same thing. And compare it to the right. Back to the left. Back to both. Alright. No rough running. Looks like it's all good in the hood. With regards to our magnetos, we can test the carb heat, so we pull it all the way out and we're looking for a drop in RPM, which we do, put it all the way back in, and the RPM comes back up. I'll take this opportunity to just have one more glance at our flight instruments here, or engine instruments rather. Oil temperature's coming up into the green, the oil pressure is still nice and green, and we still have enough fuel for the flight. Idle check. Make sure she doesn't stall out. She doesn't. I'm gonna lean the mixture out again, and just because I don't want to go onto the grass, we're just gonna make a U-turn here to make sure, to try and avoid going on the grass. Come to a stop here and prepare the aircraft for takeoff. That includes shutting the windows, making sure that the doors are closed and locked. We're not going to use flaps for this departure, and the takeoff trim is set. And again, the flight instruments are what we want them to be. We're just going to do a quick little radio check here for ourselves. Check, check.
Check, check.
Okay, looks like she's working. We'll go back to 1228, which is the Unicom, and 1215, which is the emergency frequency. Just a good habit to listen in on that to make sure that, you know, if there are any distress calls, we hear them. All right, so just one more little check here, visual check at the flight controls, make sure that they're all working. I'm happy, so let's get going. So before we turn onto the runway, we're gonna just turn on the transponder and make our call out. Strobes can also come on. So this is Alderny traffic, Cessna Golf Foxtrot Mike Alpha Sierra, backtracking runway 26, Alderny traffic. Alright, so we just make sure that no one is coming or going. Left is clear. Right seems to be clear. So yeah, confirm the strobes are on. We can go ahead and turn on our landing lights just for a little bit of extra visibility for anyone that might be coming in on the final approach unexpectedly. Beautiful flight model, loving the effects. Okay, you don't really need to use flaps for departure, especially in an aircraft this light. She picks off quite quickly off the ground. Alrighty. Make a little U-turn here. Okay. Mixture fully rich. Make sure I'm not forgetting anything, so lights are as they should be. We do not need the pitot heats. And the engine instruments still looking good. Mixture's fully rich. Let's go. Let's see. Alderny traffic, Cessna Golf Foxtrot Mike Alpha Sierra, departing runway 26 for VFR flight in the vicinity of the island. We'll report on our return, remaining below 2,000 feet. Alderny traffic. Okay, so here we go. Rev the engine up a little bit, release the brakes, and off we go here. T's and P's are still in the green. Oil pressure is a little bit high there for some reason. There, we accelerated so quickly. We are already well over 60 knots. So we're going to trim for about 70 knots. Get ourselves clear of all obstacles as quickly as we possibly can. We said we're going to do a counterclockwise flight of the island just so that we can see the island on our side of the aircraft. Alright, we're We're trimmed for about 80 knots. And yeah, we don't really want to go higher than 1,000 feet just so that we can do some sightseeing. So we're going to level off here, bring the power back. Trimmer out. Right, optical checks, landing lights can come off. Wheels remain out. That's it, we're airborne. A little bit closer to the island here. So we need to remain within gliding distance of the with the island, seeing as though we are a single-engine aircraft. So if we do have an engine failure, we do want to be able to make an emergency landing on the island. Beautiful day for flying. Wonderful little island. Got some ships. Lots of marine traffic here in the vicinity. I know I said I wouldn't narrate everything, but I don't know, I feel like it's a bit boring if I don't say anything. Hurul Lighthouse. There is, speaking of lighthouses, there is a lighthouse off to the west of the island. Tempted to try and make our way to said island. I mean, said lighthouse, but we're going to try and be realistic. We didn't pack any survival equipment, so I don't think we'll be able to legally make our way to that lighthouse. So we'll save that for another day. It's always worth just periodically checking out the engine instruments to make sure nothing is, no issues are creeping up on us. Beautiful little harbor. What's that, like some fortress? So I don't want to be like super annoying on the frequency, so I tend to avoid making unnecessary callouts, just the basics, especially if there's no obvious sign of traffic in the area. But it's always good to make your calls just in case someone spawns up near you. With most CTRs, you know, the upper limits being about 2,500 feet above the airport, I like to keep below that, as I think most TMAs would start from that level upwards. I think it's just sort of good practice to use that as like a general guide or reference when choosing how high you'd like to fly, especially when you're close to an airport, especially a controlled airport. So that's the airport off our left wing, obviously. I'm going to start setting ourselves up for the traffic pattern here. So we'll stay at about 1,000 feet. We are just west of the airport now, so we'll say, let's say we're about 1 mile. Alderny traffic, Cessna Golf, Foxtrot, Mike, Alpha Sierra, 1 mile west of the field at 1,000 feet, inbound to land. We'll join on the left downwind for runway 26, Alderny traffic. Alright, so let's bring the engine power back here and start slowing ourselves down. There's the runway. We're about on a crosswind here, so make sure the mixture's still rich. We are pretty much at sea level here, so no need to lean the mixture. I love how the needles of the gauges are jumping around. As they would with the vibration of the engines. Alright, there's 80 knots. I'm going to keep ourselves at around 80 knots. And, okay, yeah, we already beamed the touchdown point. So we're going to slow ourselves down here, start a gentle descent, and preferably would have liked to have 1 notch of flaps down already. When we're about 45 degrees from the touchdown point, we can start our base leg. Coming in a call final, like I said, trying to limit our radio call. So it's just under 80 knots. We're going to bring 10 degrees of flaps down. Start our standard rate turn into the base leg. We'll like to fly the base around 70 and the final at about 60. So we can bring 20 degrees of flaps down. Let's watch them go down. There's 20 degrees. You can definitely feel the change of alright, we're already good for our final approach leg here. There's 60 knots, so we're gonna bring down the final notch of flaps. It's a bit turbulent here as we overshoot the runway. Nice and professionally. Alright, we're a bit low, so let's get some power going here. Set ourselves up for the final approach check. So gear is down, flaps are down, lights on. Alderny traffic, Cessna Golf, Foxtrot, Mike, Alpha Sierra is final approach runway 26 for touch and go left traffic, Alderny traffic. Alright, so we're just trying to redeem ourselves by flying a better traffic pattern. So let's get a little bit of altitude here. I think a little bit of a downdraft, keeping us from climbing too much. Alright, so we're 1 white, 1 red, so we're technically within limits of the descent profile here. Gonna aim for the touchdown point there. A bit windy, a bit gusty. Definitely feel it. Try not to exceed, well, come in faster than 60 knots here. Alright, so as soon as we touch down, we're gonna bring the flaps up to 10. Ooh, these gusts are keeping me in the air here. And we're down. Flaps coming up to 10. And power up immediately. It's kind of hard to do here with... Alright, there's 60 knots. We're going to rotate. Up we go. $70 knots. I think that's a decent sort of climb speed to target in a 152. Alright, once we're clear of all the major obstacles, we're going to go ahead and bring the flaps up. And I'm going to target about 80 knots for the climb. Bring ourselves back up to 1,000 feet. Start our turn into the crosswind. Very bumpy, especially as we climb over the ridge here. Alright, bring the power back. Off to takeoff checks. I'm gonna leave the landing lights on for this one. At 1,000 feet. Let's trim out here. One that allows us to get too far from the island. So let's get runway, well, the heading of 260 or 080 here on the directional gyro, so we know, there we go, we're downwind, so we're going to start bringing power back, slowing down, and beam the touchdown point. We can start our descent, start configuring the aircraft for landing here. There's 80 knots, just under, so 10 degrees coming down. Push the nose down because it wants to kind of balloon up as you bring those flaps down. Give it a few more seconds before we do our turn onto the base leg. Alright, let's do that now. Unlike before, let's try not to lose too much altitude. Alright, next target out heading will be 350 for the base leg. There it is. We are at flaps 10, so we're going to go, we're a little bit fast for the next bit of flaps, so we're going to drop flaps in a second here. Alright, we go 70 knots, 20 degrees, flaps coming down. Let's start our turn into final here. There's 60 knots, so bring the next bit of flaps down. Alright, so it's kind of a bit difficult to gauge your height above the runway, or at least there's that optical illusion, or you know, that you're higher than you are because you're looking with reference to the ocean. Okay. Alright, so Alderny traffic, Cessna Golf Foxtrot Mike Office here, final approach from 826, full stop landing, Alderny traffic. Alright, so there we go. Went a bit better that time. On the final approach, on the glide path here, we're going to just come back on the power. So final checks here, gear down, flaps down, the mixture's fully rich, the lights are as they should be. There's no fuel pump on this guy. Like we're descending a little bit too quickly here, so we're going to come back on the power, get ready for that wind shear that we experience as we cross over the ridge here. Higher there, bring the power down. Oops, bit of a downdraft. Keep playing with the throttle, make sure that you're maintaining your descent to the runway. There's a touchdown point zone in front of us. And come back on the power. Oops, ballooned up there a bit. Up, let's try and recover. Hold it off, hold it off. And we're down. Okay. Not my greatest landing, but that will do. Let's get some fresh air and hear those beefier engine sounds. Alright, we're going to hold off on cleaning the aircraft up just as a good habit, so that you can put all your concentration and focus in vacating the runway safely. Alright, let's bring the flaps up. Transponder can come back to standby. We'll hold off on the lights as we cross the hold short line here, because that technically means we are now clear of the runway, so all the bright lights can come off. Alderny traffic, says no Golf Foxtrot Mike Alpha Sierra. Clear of runway 26 taxiing to parking, Alderny traffic. Alright, so that's it. So we've cleaned up the aircraft, flaps are up. We can just reset the trim here. That'll do. Make sure the transponder is off still. Well, it is off, so we didn't forget about it. We'll go back to our parking here on the grass, just to the right of the nose here. That patch of cut grass there. That's it. Let's turn off all our radios. And cut the fuel. Beacon light off. And the magnetos are confirmed off, and the batteries can come off. There you go. So thanks to anyone that may have joined me for this initial stream. I plan on churning out a lot more content in the months ahead. You can expect anything from low and slow VFR flying to soaring high above the weather in airliners such as the Phoenix A320 and the PMD G737. I am really looking forward to the PMD G777, and the IndyBuilds A300 is also on my list, so stay tuned for those flights as those aircraft get released. Speaking of future releases, one aircraft in particular I am super excited about is the PC-12, coming out by SimWorks, I think. SimWorks Studios. That aircraft has been in development for quite some time. It's one of my top favorite aircraft, especially one of my favorite turboprop aircraft. So super excited about that release. Again, stay tuned. You can bet your bottom dollar that I will be jumping into that aircraft as soon as it gets released. For now, thanks for joining me on this flight, and I hope to see you again in future streams. Thank you and goodbye.